The world swam in a haze of alcohol. Disjointed images fell on top of one another. Friends laughing, copious amounts of empty bottles, an overcrowded bar, and a lean body moving away from a heavy head which lay upon a dirty table. A sigh emerged when gentle fingers brushed over short hair, calming those darkened images. Smoky eyes looked up from familiar bedsheets. Arms decorated in tattoos wrapped tightly around the plush pillow. "Who are you?" he murmured, an eye peeking out from the pillow. Soft words and amused eyes landed upon him. "I'm not important." He touched a hand whose thumb gently caressed the back of his wrist. He stared, lost within a moment he couldn't remember. Those eyes made him want to disagree. So, he rolled over, which allowed him to grab a hold of a body he liked. Smiling, he pulled that body close to his. "Oh, come on, Ty." There was a note of resignation in the sigh. "You would be a grabby drunk." The image staring back at him was critiqued. Every hair had to be in place. No wrinkles would be allowed in his outfit. Thick brows must be tamed. This wasn't vanity or insecurity. It was habit, and perhaps a little about control. Looking at his reflection, he was satisfied. Eyes identical to his own moved up next to him. His brother was in contrast to him. Casual, torn jeans that fit a little loose with an unremarkable t-shirt. "I can't believe we're twins," Gio muttered. "Identical," Court noted with glee. "Why are you so uptight about how you look? No one cares about you." He took a swipe at his brother's head but missed. Court ducked out of the bathroom. It wouldn't save him. Racing through the house like they had when they were kids. It brought laughter to them both. Only, as always, Gio kept it inside while Court's boisterous laughter rang through the hallways as they raced to the kitchen where the sense of breakfast beckoned them. The warmth of the kitchen was more than just temperature. Sunlight poured in through large windows surrounding the nook where breakfast waited for them. Coffee brewing pulled Gio to a stop. More important than beating his brother was coffee. His mug waited on the counter next to the pot. Court had run to the table nestled within the nook, right into their mother's waiting arms. Laughter that was somewhere between Court and himself filled the room. She held her baby just like she always had. Gio watched them, the pot of coffee untouched for a moment. He couldn't completely conceal the sorrow filling his heart. "I love having my boys home." She was hugging Court tight. Gio went back to pouring his coffee. "We wouldn't miss the first breakfast of the school year. We've done that since you were in kindergarten." Her smile began to fade. "But you're in university now. We should probably start thinking of stopping our tradition." Court buried his head deeper into their mom's chest. As Gio walked over, he kissed the top of her head. "We're always going to have breakfast together." Just like their mom held Court's head to her chest, Gio held their mom's head to his. He held his brother's shoulder. Discreetly, she brushed away a tear. Around a sniffle, she urged them, "Our breakfast is going to get cold. Come on, boys." They claimed the same seats they'd grown up in. Food was passed about. Gio poured his mom's tea while bugging his brother. The familiarity of the morning wasn't something he'd ever grow tired of. Feet kicked out and back pressed against the wall, it wasn't possible to be more relaxed. A stylish guy with model looks was idly scrolling on his phone. "You've got to see the uni's gossip page." "Don't care." Furrowed brows looked down upon a map contained within a pamphlet. In contrast to his friend, he was sitting upright with tense shoulders hunched forward. They're almost exclusively focused on one guy. A finger scrolled through the posts. "Your first conquest," was the uninterested remark. It got a laugh. "He's hot, but not my type." Sounds like a fighter with a bad attitude. A non-committal grunt. The phone was put down. "Can't believe you're using a map to figure out how to get around the university. You know they have an updated version online? Would need a cell for that," was the muttered reply as the map was turned about unsuccessfully. Soft, curly brown hair touched artful brows, enhancing an annoyed expression. Sculpted lips held a slight pout as he concentrated. "How do you survive?" "Peyton," the sigh hinted at annoyance. "Stop asking that." The subtle threat was laughed off as Peyton got up. "No one's updated those maps in years." "Here, look." The online version of the map was shown. It was a far better map than what was on paper. The phone was taken and set down on the bed. From an old, worn bag a battered black case emerged. When opened, it revealed a selection of standard art supplies. The paper map was laid out. Marks on the page began to update what no one else had thought worthwhile. Dude, we got orientation soon, but the comment didn't sound concerned. There was a shrug of indifference. Pretty decent, was the compliment that came from watching his work. Thinking of specializing your art? A slow shake of the head was the only response. It hadn't been a reply. Satisfied with his efforts, the phone was handed back by a hand covered with a black cloth wrap concealing everything from the knuckles to mid-forearm. The map would probably suffice to get him around campus. I'm headed the same direction as you. He was cut off quickly but without emotion. You're a music major. I'm an art major. We got different classes. I should be here on a sports scholarship. Peyton's sigh held a note of a whine to it. There was a cruel smirk emerging. Except that there are no scholarships for extreme sports. And even if there were, you didn't go to high school, so there'd be no way to get the attention of a scout. No legal way, Peyton amended with a cocky grin. A faded plaid jacket moved over lean shoulders clad in an old black t-shirt. Orientations for all freshies, Peyton moved to follow. A hard glare was sent backwards. I'm not looking for a frat. I'm not looking for friends. It's not my problem if you're dumb enough to want them. My job ended when I got you here. Peyton watched the door close. With an amused shake of his head, he followed. Lucky for you, my job isn't over. Stately, clean-cut, dignified, proper. These are the words used to describe Tanner. Glistening blonde hair swept back, exposed a handsome face. A warm smile pulled everyone in as though he were smiling at only them. He'd learned early on in life to capitalize on this ability, and it was serving him well on the production. It's a big project. You're totally right. Do you guys want to break it out into groups? Props and wardrobe, sound and editing, acting, that kind of stuff? That way maybe we get our feet under us before we tackle any filming. Lighten the load so that no one person becomes overwhelmed. He coaxed the others into his original suggestion. Except for you, Tanner, was the laughed comment. But it wasn't a joke. Their agreement to his suggestion finally came. I think groups would be best. Totally. Thanks, Tanner. There were several relieved smiles. It's no problem. He waved off their gratitude. I'll do my best to oversee everything. Just work at getting the approvals from the student council. Oh, but don't forget that we'll need to find artists for the show. Since that's your faculty, can you take care of that, Tanner? We still need a lead actor. That has to come first. He held up his hands, one step at a time. Let people get registered and through Hell Week first. We can scout the talent during that time. Yeah, okay. They seemed reluctant, yet also relieved. He leaned back on his arms. The breeze, which helped cool them down, pulled delightfully with the long hair of a campus beauty. Delicate fingers pulled the hair behind her ear, allowing her to make eye contact. She waved. Of course. Pretty boy here has the attention of the hottest girl on campus. The joking had an edge of envy. Tanner shrugged it off with a grin. I promise you she's here because of another guy. Ty? The correct assumption was made. Who else? Tanner laughed. He waved goodbye to the drama club members. From her purse, Jazz was retrieving her cell. He sat down next to her. What did he do this time? I'm guessing that you haven't seen the video going around right now. She was on her phone. School hasn't even officially started. Doesn't that gossip site take a break? They're dedicated to Ty's every movement, she pointed out. As are you, he teased. I'm keeping my eye on him for his protection. She turned over the phone to Tanner. He's lucky to have you. He wasn't joking with that comment. Her smile was touched with worry. Luckier to have you. Then, in silence, she let him watch the video even though there wasn't much for audio. There was no expression as Tanner watched. The bar scene was hopping. Court stumbled onto the scene looking to cause a fight he was too drunk to win. To the left, Gio was mocking his brother as Ty's heavy head hit the table painfully. As the video played, she said, I'm getting worried. What does this mean? You always worry about him. But this could have nothing to do with Ty, Tanner pointed out softly. Or it's a targeted attack. You know his family's history. Worry darkened her eyes. Some comments are saying that this was about Ty. I'm not really interested in what the comments have to say. I'm more interested in the guy taking Ty's drink. Do you know him? Because it doesn't look like anyone does. Who knows? He shrugged. Watching the video avidly, the position of the camera kept the stranger's face hidden. What they could easily see was Ty's beer in the left hand while the right was taking someone down with an impressive hook. Why'd he do that? Tanner's eyes narrowed. In the video, the guy was now kneeling before his prone target. The bottle was set with purpose between them. Fearful eyes showed that the guy on the floor had no interest in being near it. Bouncers interceded, but rather than remove both parties, they only questioned the guy with the great hook. A few curt words and they were done. The guy with the bruised chin, along with the bottle, was removed. The camera followed for a moment till they disappeared towards the back of the bar and could no longer be seen. When the camera moved, it showed someone passing a plaid jacket to the guy who'd taken away Ty's beer. That jacket was used to help keep his face hidden as he donned it while leaving. There's no good shots of his face, Jazz pointed out. Tanner handed back the phone. Send me the video. Why? Tanner stood up. I'm going to do some digging. It's why you brought this to me, right? She nodded. Don't worry so much, he laughed. He's luckiest to have you. She finally let her smile hold a hint of relief. Silence greeted Ty as he woke from a troubled sleep. As he sat up, a hand ran through his hair. The smell he expected didn't hit him. Heavy lids rose to form a scowl. The towel under his naked body said that he'd had a shower that he didn't remember. What was it that he did remember? Ignoring the questions he couldn't answer, he pushed up out of the bed. When he picked up his clothes from last night, the smell of the bar that he'd expected on himself was there in the clothing. They hit the laundry basket on his way to the bathroom. He glanced at his watch. It was still early, which he wasn't sad about. Once dressed, he headed down the stairs. The house was too quiet. But Gio and Court had gone to visit their mom, leaving only Ty in the house. He hated eating meals alone. He hated a quiet house. Despite knowing better, the feelings that a quiet house brought up wouldn't be reasoned with. He massaged the fist he was making. Then he pulled on his hoodie, ignoring the grumblings of his stomach. Earphones went in and the volume was turned up. The door clicked softly shut. The lock slid in place. His phone found a home in his back pocket, then the zipper moved up on his hoodie before he took off on a run. Ty darling, violent, cruel and drop-dead sexy. Is it any wonder that this guy gets a free pass in life? Son of a prominent politician with deeper connections than the mob. A fanbase that rivals a star. And smoldering good looks with a body that is meant to be undressed. And yet, alone. This one student is responsible for more fights last year than the previous 2 years combined. Serious fights that put people in the hospital. With his posse in tow, we can pretty much write off our school. Ty Darling is a villain with an agenda. Will you let him represent our school as our rugby team's next captain simply because he has a pair of smoldering eyes and a six-pack? The morning sun was already bringing the heat as well as a glow to a light sheen of sweat. An open hoodie revealed the muscle shirt straining to do its job. A hand running through short hair couldn't affect it. At the base of his neck, Ty's fingers worked to massage the tense muscles. His workout this morning had been tough. At the edge of the parking lot, 3 girls whispered, "That's the guy, isn't it? The one on the university's page?" "Yeah, the guy that fights all the time. He's so hot." Despite their comments, it would have been simple to ignore these girls. But they had other plans. Boldly they crossed the parking lot to intercept him. He glanced their direction. "Hi, you're Ty, right? The captain of the rugby team?" Hair was pulled behind small ears. "That is the rumor," one shoulder shrugged indifferently. "They say that last year you stepped in when one of the freshies almost died. Is that true?" Delicate, decisive footsteps announced the arrival of someone very important to him. Someone he trusted to come to his rescue. As always, Jazz was a vision. Immaculately straight hair framed her delicate face. A pencil skirt accented her long legs. The blazer she wore was uniquely hers because she always put her personal touch on everything she wore. She took his hand, and he bestowed a kiss upon her soft cheek. She turned to the girls to address their question on his behalf. "Ty certainly did step in when the bullying went too far last year. Let's not bore them." "Beautiful," he put his arm around her to hug her close. "Or me." From behind them, a light-hearted comment, "But it's a great story." "Court," the warning shot over his shoulder. Court was a light-hearted goof at most times, but especially so when his brother was the recipient. "It's the first time I'd ever seen Gio lose his cool. And you think that's funny?" Gio slapped the back of his twin brother's head. I thought it was hilarious. Kurt's grin was a signature of his. That grin was wiped away when an unwelcomed voice noted, "Hilarious enough to ruin my reputation and put someone in the hospital over a simple hazing." The two brothers, known for their loyalty and notorious for their vengeance, stepped up as one in immediate challenge. It was one thing for brothers to pick at each other. It was an entirely different thing when someone else had an opinion. Simple hazing, Kurt? You left my brother tied to a tree and blindfolded in the woods overnight without a jacket or a cell. Kurt made it very clear, if anything had happened to him, it wouldn't have been a hospital your friend ended up in. Ty stood back with his arm around Jazz. He watched closely because beneath Kurt's designer clothes was one hell of an entitled attitude. And a fragile ego. Sneering, Kurt addressed the girls without looking at them. "Let me give you some free advice. Don't waste your time with these assholes. They're nothing but a stain on our school's reputation and a danger to sweet young things like yourselves." "There isn't a single complaint against us from any woman," Gio pointed out. Ty winked at the girls. "Unless you count my sister, but I still claim that Halloween candy was mine." Soft laughter and grins from the girls showed that he'd won them over. "Hardly makes you suitable to be the rugby captain," Kurt sneered. "That's what you came to pick a fight about?" Ty scoffed. Nothing made him quite as happy as beating the perfect out of that smug appearance in any shape or form. "Thought it'd be the bruising around your nose from our last fight. Or did you finally get a nose job? Son of a bitch." Kurt's fists were rising. "Last time, I was the one that won. Cheap shot on the court doesn't make you a winner. Besides," Kurt sneered a grin, "we won the game. By a lousy call from the refs," one of Kurt's friends spoke up. "By rights, we won." Fumble. It was about to erupt in a fight that both parties were only too happy to have. But a delicate, unwavering new voice interrupted. Kurt Everly, on the surface, an upstanding, model student. Nearly voted in last year for student body president, which would have put him as the youngest to achieve that status. But his popularity took a dive after a near-fatal Freshie incident. And then there's the rumors. Given his educational path, I'd say politics are a likely career. However, it would be a waste of time running for any office because he simply doesn't poll well. Unless he has mafia-level influence. But that ignorance would definitely get him killed with them. You lose the voice with that last line. And are you sure? Ignorance, not arrogance? A second young woman asked as she mulled over the wording. There was a thoughtful look on a young face. Arrogance with the right temperament can be hot. This guy just sucks. That had the others laughing. Aang they knew well. She was a close friend to Jazz, and someone they were happy to have around them. The younger girl next to her wasn't familiar. But her proximity and resemblance to Aang meant that she too would be welcomed. Kurt stepped forward. "I don't know who you think you are." "She's family," Ty figuratively stepped in. His countenance was a threat, "and you know how protective I am of family." "Family," Kurt seconded the statement. Gio's cold visage backed them up. "I don't care who she is. She should care who I am." The challenge was tossed Ty's way. Kurt replied flippantly, "Sounds like she's already got you pegged. You do suck." Jazz moved around them before Kurt could respond. "As a student body representative, it is my duty to report incidences such as these even if they happen off campus. I think, Kurt, that your reputation stands to lose far more than the boys who stand at my side. You are hoping to follow in your father's footsteps, right?" Kurt's lip twitched. "Need your girlfriend to fight your battles for you?" When Gio stepped forward, Ty stopped him with a hand on Gio's shoulder. He stared at Kurt, a smile beginning to play at his lips. "No. But she looks so damned adorable doing it. I'm not about to stop her." Nothing in her posture was aggressive. Yet she commanded authority in something as simple as the way she looked down her nose at men that were taller than she. "Girls, orientation will begin soon. You shouldn't be late." She gave the girls their escape. "Oh, yeah. Yes, okay." The trio stepped around Kurt hesitantly. "Thank you." The way she trailed off had Jazz replying, "I'm Jazz. I'll be one of your seniors this year. You'll see me later this morning at orientation. And I'll be sure that the information I give you ensures you have a successful and safe first year here." Slender arms moved across over her small waist. Immaculately manicured nails bit into soft flesh as she glared up at the much taller Kurt. A small group of people were standing on the outskirts of the parking lot. Kurt's friends pulled at his shoulder, encouraging him to let it go. "Come on, man. It won't look good." Shut the hell up. Kurt eyed up Tai. This isn't over. This didn't start it. Tai's reply interrupted Kurt's comment. Kurt's friends dragged him away. The girls went a different direction. Which is when Jazz reprimanded her friend, Aang, you're supposed to watch out for your sister. Aang put her arms around her sister's shoulders, holding her in a hug that was welcomed. Aang was beaming, but Kryze is taking after Mom so awesomely. Mom'll be proud. Besides, Kurt's just a spoiled rich kid. And I'm tired of how he treats my girl and her boys. He understood the reluctance Jazz had to explain the danger Aang had just put her sister in. So, she chose to turn her focus on Tai. And will you stop engaging Kurt? You made your point to him last year. I'm in no mood, Jazz, Tai cautioned. Kurt was making a move on new territory. Hello. Aang's sister. Aang pulled her sister back. Don't even think it, Kurt. This is my little sis. And you know how protective I am of her. I'm aware you haven't brought her around me before. He was smiling broadly. That also makes her more tantalizing. And Tai doesn't joke about family. She's one of us now. Jazz was ignoring the side banter. Why are you picking a fight with Kurt on our first day back? He started it, Tai reminded her. He moved to walk away. Jazz, Gio's tone was a soft warning. He was parallel to Tai as they walked, which kept Jazz between the two of them. Behind them, Kurt was defending himself to Aang. You know me. Which is the problem? That devilishly handsome face doesn't fool me, Aang laughed. I had no idea you saw me as handsome. Kurt feigned a humble attitude. Gio slapped the side of his brother's head again, but he spoke to Jazz. He went home. You gave in to your mom? Jazz held concern for Tai. Kurt rubbed his head and grumbled, we're identical twins. She was technically complimenting you too. Tai held her arm to assist stepping up from the parking lot. She begged. And she paid for another year of school. It nearly ended in murder. Your brother wasn't there? Jazz was surprised. The soft click of her heels sounded out as she stepped off grass onto the sidewalk. She continued to hold onto his arm. Away being a camp counselor. He was smart and got the hell out of there. He moved past the anger and asked, how was Europe? Lovely, of course, though I wish you could have stayed longer. Dad loves having his honorary son around. She held a hand to his arm. Kurt was busy plying Aang's younger sister with questions. You're in journalism? She nodded. I am. Kryze is following in our mom's footsteps. It was clear that Aang was proud. Show him, Kryze. Show what? Gio asked after he shared a few glances. This conversation now had their attention. Though clearly shy about being put on the spot, there wasn't any hesitation from Kryze, sophisticated with a deadly edge. A very stylish dresser. That would be Gio. He's the elder of the twins by almost 5 minutes. The brother with the fierce grin and casual style goes by Kurt because the game is the only thing in life, other than his family, that he takes seriously. Kurt took up a delicate hand. I take your beauty very seriously. Aang slapped Kurt's hand away. I haven't prepped her. This is all her research. And this handsome man? Jazz was having fun. Since it was at his expense, he raised a single brow in mute question. Dark hair, smoky eyes, and a fierce countenance. Seen most often in hoodies because he's often working out. That is Tai, the controversial new rugby captain and focus of the university's gossip page. Right, Aang nodded pleased. Don't listen to anything that stupid gossip site says. Jazz is my best friend. And these are her boys. You can trust them absolutely. Absolutely, Kurt emphasized the word. And you can absolutely trust that if anything happens to my little sister, Jazz will be coming after you, Aang told him with a stern look. And for that, I'll be coming to Gio, Jazz warned with a laugh. Brutal, Kurt looked wounded. There was cruel amusement from Tai and Gio. Kurt, a squeaky voice running up behind them was calling out eagerly. Kurt got more than one impatient glare sent his way. Turning her head so that she could take a look, Aang was alight with curiosity. Who is this? A Kurt problem, was Tai's answer that Gio nodded to. Kurt rolled his eyes. That's Todd. My junior from high school. He followed you to university? Devilish delight sparkled in Aang's eyes. Sorry to disappoint your little boy's love fantasy, Kurt laughed at her. I like insightful girls. The remark had been made to Kryze, who was now blushing. And Todd just has the same interests as me. Gio helpfully added on. So he followed you to university to take the same course as you. Kurt's face said a lot to his brother. There was amusement all around. It took Jazz stopping for the others to do the same. With polite patience she waited for Todd's short, thin legs to catch up to them. As Todd ran up, his eyes bounced the small distance between Court and the girls. Breathless and flushed, he asked, "Who are these girls?" Ty reclaimed Jazz's arm, and once again they all began walking. "You ready for your first day, kid?" Court avoided the question because it was unimportant. It left Todd to stare questioningly. But, unless he wanted to run once again to catch up to them, he was going to move his feet. Hurried steps of stiff dress shoes had a hollow clack that was somehow lost among delicate high heels, expensive loafers, and quiet sneakers. "Since we're in the same faculty, will you show me where my classes are, Court?" Walking next to her sister, Cries asked him, "Will you be coming to orientation?" From the front, Jazz mentioned, "It's a good idea. Aang and I will be helping out. We'll be leading small groups about to show you everything." Peeved, Court waved this off, "Don't waste time on that. I'll be happy to show both of you around." "Including your room?" Aang's direct question was laughed, much to her sister's embarrassment. "I'd never," he feigned innocence. Several dry looks were tossed his way. And so, he completed his thought, "Never waste my time brining Todd there." "There it is," Ty gave a soft laugh. Jazz shifted their focus, "I've already got Ty's updates. But what about my other boys? How was the summer?" "We took Mom to the coast." There was a note of sadness in Gio's eyes. Worry touched hers. "Is she feeling better?" There was a nod, but it was a silent one weighted by an unspoken truth. "Was she sick, Court?" Todd inserted himself between Court and Cries. "How come you haven't told me? Do you need my help with anything?" Court simply smiled as he continued to walk. "East Coast, or West Coast?" Cries' question was soft and light. Gio turned his head back with a soft smile. "Mom likes the mountains. They're beautiful, aren't they?" Her smile reflected this. "Some people say that spending time in the mountains can heal you. I don't really believe that. But then, I also think that anything that can make your heart smile can be healing. So, maybe I'm wrong." Gio cast her an appreciative smile. "Our mom says the same thing." Court physically shifted Todd to his opposite side so that he could once again be walking next Cries. With his coy grin, he noted, "Nice Jedi mind trick. I can't even get Gio to talk about our mom. What kind of journalism are you getting into?" There was a happy, shy smile emerging. Clearly, Court was evading the topic of their mother. Was Cries falling for his trick, or allowing his trick? Either way, she was ensuring her spot within the family. "I took extra classes for photojournalism in high school. But I think I'm like our mom. I prefer finding out the truth behind the gossip and fake news. That's Mom's specialty." Aang was proud of their mom. Her articles normalize celebrities. They're just people too, and we need to stop putting them on a pedestal of our making and not expecting them to fall off. As the interaction was unfolding, Ty's attention had wandered. His look turned dark as something up the lane caught his eye. Kurt and his friends were stopping long enough to rudely kick a beggar sitting on the side of the path. The beggar had done nothing to warrant the aggression, and yet took the abuse as though he were accustomed to it. Someone crossing the street had also seen the encounter. Waves dancing into curls of brown hair framed pierced ears and provided shade to intense eyes. A shapeless jacket couldn't hide the truth of a great body. Appearing to be on the lean side of well-built showed care and not just good genes. A sexy vision in ripped jeans and a faded plaid jacket. Piercing was the glare from intelligent eyes. Even if Kurt didn't realize it, he just made another enemy. Yet rather than call Kurt out, he chose to kneel next to the beggar. The long sleeves of his worn-out jacket hid kind hands which helped the beggar to sit upright. A bottle of water and a sandwich in a powder-pink baggie were turned over. Gentle words were exchanged outside of Ty's hearing. "You've tuned me out." Jazz had given up. But then, he hadn't heard a word she had said. Her whisper hit his ear as she leaned into him with a hand playing upon his shoulder. "Now that is delicious. And if it were to me, do you think having you pressed up against me is helping?" The guy was now following in the wake of others making their way to the university. As he passed on by, their eyes met. A blurred memory fought to surface in Ty's mind, but it was gone just as quickly as the guy in faded plaid was. Those hard eyes moved away, releasing a prisoner that didn't want to be freed. Narrowed eyes watched as he moved on up the path. "It's called atmosphere," she purred. He glanced with dry amusement at her. Her grin grew. Every guy wants what they can't have. We should get to class. He ignored the comment. Yeah, I could use more sleep. Cor wasn't joking. Late night? Aang asked. We hit the bar last night. I don't remember much of it, but I woke up on the kitchen floor. Then Geo woke me up super early to go to mom's. That good and you didn't invite us? Jazz cast a concerned look at Tai. He again ignored. They moved up the street as a group. Tai's attention was unfocused until his ears caught the tail end of a comment from a passing student who was rummaging through a bright pink bag. I know I packed a sandwich. Maybe you forgot it at home? But I know I put it in my bag, she was adamant. Her pink glasses were pushed up as she lifted her head. Where did it go? I'm hungry. You're always hungry, her friend laughed. Tai looked back at the beggar, who was greedily consuming the treasure given to him. The pink baggie lay on his knee. With an approving smile beginning to emerge, Tai turned his focus back to his friends. The first day of school was always a waste. Orientation took up a huge chunk of time, meaning classes didn't start till later. It was a good excuse to lounge around outside enjoying what was left of the good weather. Aang and Jazz were off making good on their volunteer duties. Kryze and Todd had followed them, and for the next hour the guys caught up, reconnecting with familiar faces as they passed on by. Until it was time to go to their first class. Thanks for walking me to class, Court. The university is so big. Todd held his books tight to his chest. Didn't we walk here too? Geo muttered to Tai. A caustic smirk was Tai's response. He couldn't possibly care less if Todd didn't notice him. Court snubbed his nose at them. When he turned to Todd, no prob. Do you know you're taking the same electives as I did when I first started? I am? Excitement shone. You didn't know? Court was kind of preening with this revelation. It would be creepy if he knew. Geo was leaning against the wall. Tai was mirroring. A group filing down the hall were slowing down to admire. An eager shake of the head was Todd's reply. Court jutted his chin. Well, if you need any help, I got decent marks last year so I can lend you my notes from first year. Aren't those Tanner's notes? Tai asked Geo. Yep, was the drawn-out reply. Court mimed a threat at them. You'd do that? Todd was trying not to look at them. Course, was the easy agreement. We're buds. Rolling his eyes treated Tai to an unexpected encounter. The guy in the faded plaid jacket was approaching. They made eye contact again. That nagging feeling was back in stronger force. You didn't forget eyes like that, and yet he couldn't place where he'd seen them before. Was he losing it? Moving past without a second glance, the guy walked into the room Todd was standing next to. If the guy in the faded plaid jacket shared Tai's feelings, he was keeping it well hidden. Court sent Todd off with a gentle shove. Then he turned towards his brother and Tai. We got time for a coffee. Pushing away from the wall, Tai asked, what class is this? Art history. Court nodded as they fell in step. Why? Tai glanced over his shoulder at the door that was now closed. He said nothing. Immediately upon walking into the classroom, Todd was accosted as several hands gripped his arms to lead him to a seat in the center row. You are someone we are dying to meet, the girl on his right spoke with excitement. Name, now. Me? He was timidly pointed at himself. At the collective nod, Todd. To his left. Everyone wants to know why such a clean-cut cutie is seen with the school's most notorious bad boys. They dropped you off. The guy at his back was holding his shoulders. Todd's eyes were wide as he was forced into claiming a seat mid-row, mid-classroom. He was the center of attention. Details right now. Long hair was tucked behind ears. As though afraid of missing out on important details. Geo seemed so sophisticated and dangerous. A subtle snort of laughter caught their attention. Down the row, a student was slowly flipping through a textbook. The plaid jacket he wore nearly covered the hand which his head rested upon, concealing his face. So, what's the DL? The DL? Come on, the deets. Spill. Overwhelmed by the pressure and attention, A fight was in full swing, but little attention was being paid to it. At least from Tai it wasn't. From the growing crowd, cells were poised for the video they were taking. Comments were excitedly being spoken as well as posted. And people were placing stupid bets, blowing everything out of proportion. Mitch got in a good hit to Court's side. Winces all around. And from Geo, an approving nod. Court was back with an elbow strike to the back. He followed that up with a right hook, sending Mitch stumbling into his friends. "Who you texting?" Gio's conversational tone should have been out of place but wasn't. Simple curiosity got a distracted response, "Go to hell." Aggressive, Gio snickered. There was no apology made. He glanced up to watch the next few hits. Critical was the observation, "He's out of shape. I told him to keep hitting the gym with me during the off-season." "Sure it's not the drinking?" "We've been going out more." Gio's comment was amused. Raised brow challenged, "Do I look out of shape?" Gio knew better than to pick at him right now, but it didn't temper his grin any. Ty gave Court a warning, "You can't complete the tryouts, you don't make the team." Court glanced over, leaving him open to the hit to the jaw that looked painful. "Oh geez. Sorry man." Mitch lowered his fists. No worries." Court moved his jaw around experimentally. He wasn't the least bit bothered. "It's still the first day," a new voice was pointing out. This was Tanner, their good friend that was very much an older brother to them. His golden good looks pulled the attention of the crowd around them. He came to claim a seat next to Ty. With a laugh, Tanner noted, "Already on your second fight?" First was off campus. Ty waved away the critique. And not a punch was thrown. Moving back into a fighter's stance, Court pointed out, "Besides, this is just Mitch. It doesn't count as a fight." "Funny, I was going to say the same about you," Mitch taunted. "Asshole." Court swung with a laugh. Tanner was eyeing Ty up. "You in a mood again?" It didn't matter to him how Tanner approached him. His problem wasn't with his friend. And so, he shrugged, "I dunno. What's going on?" Concern was given, but Ty was in no mood to share, so he ignored. He was texting, Gio revealed. The result was a sharp glare that Gio met with a careless shrug. Tanner's one-word answer was one of understanding. "Keep it to yourselves," Ty warned them with subdued annoyance. It was Tanner that requested, "Send them our love." Terse was the nod Ty gave in reply. He set down his phone while he waited for the reply to come through. Todd was running over to them. At first, he was excited. That excitement quickly vanished when he saw that his idol was engaged in a tense-looking fight. "What's going on?" Todd's worry was clear. "Stay out of it." Gio and Ty had said this at the same time. But Court,